All right, so today's topic is very important, which is called block ciphers. So we have seen the historical ciphers, so we understand why we need to replace a pair of characters instead of a single character, right? Because it is easy to break by using statistical techniques like frequency analysis. Now, we are in the modern age, so instead of encrypting pairs of characters, we are actually going to encrypt pairs of bytes, right? Because we are dealing with zeros and ones. So first we have to agree on the encoding, okay? In order to people or to device to communicate, they have to agree in the language, right? So here encoding is what we are going to tell it. So historical ciphers mostly operate on letters since they are pen and paper methods. When working with digital data, we can represent letters, numbers, symbols, etc. as string of bits, right? Thus, the communicating parties must first agree on an encoding. This is why we have standards, right? ASCII is the best known because it is American standard, but generally we prefer UTF-8 because ASCII doesn't contain the sum of special Turkish characters, right? So for this reason, we cannot use directly ASCII. This is why years ago, most probably you remember, whenever you chat in a video game or in a general chat program, you could, when you press a Turkish character and send it, you will see a different symbol there. This is because of ASCII table, okay? They were using ASCII, okay? So let me show you the full ASCII table. So since we are representing data as bits, gathering bits together allows you to represent more characters, right? Because with a single bit, you can represent 0 or 1. So you can only represent 2 characters. Like you can say A is 0 and B is 1, and that's it. But your alphabet has more letters, right? So you have to use more bits. So if you use 2 bits, 2 to the 2 is 4. So you can represent 4 characters, right? So this way, actually, if you look at the powers of 2, you will realize that the sweet spot is something like 7 or 8, because 2 to the 7 is 128, which is enough. Actually, this part of the table is 2 to the 7, which gives you 128 characters. But if you add one more bit and make it 8 bits, you can actually represent 256 different characters, right? We are starting from 0, so this is why we end up with 255. So first, you have to agree on the encoding, and here, as you can see, capital letters and then small letters appear here. We have the numbers and so on and so forth. At this extended part, we have more Latin characters that are used, especially in French, right? But as you can see, we don't have some special Turkish characters like sh or soft G, right? This is why we cannot use it. Also, this picture explains one of the problems when you see a list in a Turkish web page or a database, where if your name starts with Ç, like here, and when you see an alphabetical list, you will expect to find your name after C, right? But sometimes you don't appear there. The whole alphabet ends with the name Z, and then you appear below it. This is because 128 is larger than these numbers, okay? This is the whole reason. They are using ASCII table, so Ç comes a lot later than Z. This is the whole reason. So this is a wrong database design. If you are allowing Turkish characters, then you should be using a different encoding. This is the whole idea. But here, I'm only talking this to say that we are going to work on bits, and we have a method to represent every character in terms of bits, okay? We agree on that, then we will talk about how we encrypt them, okay? So in our case, a single byte is 8 bits, 1024 bytes is 1 kilobyte, and so on and so forth. But we have variable length input in our cases. For instance, we are going to encrypt maybe 1 megabyte or 2 terabytes. We should have a method to do that, right? Block ciphers can do that. This is the whole idea. So let's remember where we are, and then we are going to talk about how block ciphers work. So as I mentioned before, cryptography solves a lot of problems. For the case of confidentiality, which is our current topic today, we can provide confidentiality by encryption algorithms like block ciphers, stream ciphers. These are symmetric key encryption algorithms. Or you can use public key encryption algorithms like RSA or L-gamma, which we'll be talking weeks later. Nowadays, we have authenticated encryption algorithms which provide both confidentiality but also data authentication. Also, you can provide data authentication with hash functions, message authentication codes. Moreover, you can obtain entity authentication with digital signatures, zero knowledge proofs, or with digital signatures, we also solve the problem of origin non-repudiation. So this is actually the small picture of whole cryptography. It doesn't contain everything. In order to talk about everything in cryptography, actually the picture has to be a lot larger, because a lot of things are missing in this picture, like post-quantum cryptography, full homomorphic encryption, multi-party computation, randomness, and so on and so forth. So it is a huge list, and we are going to actually cover almost everything that is in this picture and some more. Okay. So let's talk about cryptographic algorithms. Some algorithms use key and some do not. For instance, cryptographic hash functions are keyless algorithms, so you don't have a secret information that is shared between parties. But for the case of encryption, we need keys so that communicating parties can agree, right? Or also for message authentication and so on. So we divide these key algorithms as symmetric and asymmetric, or secret key and public key. In the secret key case, secret key algorithms use the same key material for both encryption and decryption, hence the name symmetric key cryptography. There are three types of algorithms in this category: block ciphers, which is today's topic, stream ciphers, another way of encryption, and message authentication codes. This is not an encryption algorithm, as I mentioned. This is for data authentication. Okay, here you are not encrypting anything, but you are proving that the data didn't change after the person received. Okay, so we will see all of them. Although these algorithms look very different, like block ciphers, stream ciphers, they can actually, in order to understand one of them, you also need to know the other. So you cannot simply learn block ciphers without learning stream ciphers or hash functions and so on. So block ciphers and stream ciphers, as I mentioned, are encryption primitives, while the message authentication code is used for data and data origin authentication. However, as I mentioned, these topics are not completely unrelated. We can use a block cipher to build both a stream cipher and a message authentication code. Even we can turn a block cipher into a hash function. Okay. There are methods for that, which we'll be talking about when we talk about hash functions. Asymmetric key crypto system part is relatively new compared to symmetric key crypto systems, because symmetric key crypto systems actually dates back to the invention of the, maybe the letters, right? But asymmetric key cryptography, thanks to Diffie-Hellman, became famous around 1976. So there are different types of algorithms here. One of them is key agreement algorithms, like Diffie-Hellman key exchange algorithm. So this is important because in symmetric key crypto systems, we start with the assumption that communicating parties both securely share the secret key between each other, right? So they need a secure channel to do that. In the key agreement algorithm, we will do it on an insecure channel. This is the nice thing, okay? The whole internet actually works with this principle, okay? And imagine that you are adding a new device to a network, right? So you initially want to start communicating in an encrypted way, but you don't know other devices yet. So this is very, very important. We have public encryption algorithms like RSA or L-gamma. We have digital signature algorithms like DSA, which is digital signature algorithm, or standard DSS, or you can use the elliptic curve version, and you have ECDSA, elliptic curve digital signature algorithm, which is again very important. And all Bitcoin or cryptocurrency transactions are actually an elliptic curve digital signature, okay? So these are important topics. So let's remember the basic definitions and terms. We are going to talk about the cipher or a crypto system. Both are the same in my case, but Cipher is translated into Turkish in a wrong way because whenever we say şifre, which is the Turkish translation of cipher, actually people talk about passwords. Okay, here we are talking about crypto systems. This is important. So that mistake is actually originating from maybe 100 years ago, because whenever there is something unknown, people refer it to as şifre, cipher, but actually it is not. So here I'm going to talk about ciphertext in a second. We also call it a şifre and so on. So it is not, in Turkish, there's a confusion, and I hope at one point it will be corrected by authorities. Okay, so what is a crypto system? Plain text is what you want to protect. So plain text can be an SMS message, a WhatsApp message, a file in your computer, or your voice while you are calling somebody and you're talking, okay? So that is the plain text. That is the thing that you want to protect. A crypto system or a cipher is just a pair of algorithms that convert plain text to ciphertext and back. Okay, so a cipher is not something that you can press on your phone buttons and enter. That is password. Okay, this is cipher. So ciphertext is the encrypted version of the plain text, and ciphertext should appear like a random sequence. So this is the idea. You have a plain text, you want to communicate or store that data, but you don't trust the medium that you are using. The communication channel, we always assume that is insecure, okay? So I need an algorithm, which we call encryption, that turns this plain text into ciphertext, which looks like just random zeros and ones. So in the communication channel, you send this data and people receive that. Every enemy or other people can listen to this communication channel and obtain this, but you still feel secure because you know that if your algorithm is good, nobody can learn anything about the plain text just by looking at the ciphertext. Okay, but when the person you want to communicate receives the ciphertext, they have the decryption algorithm and the secret key that they can decrypt. That is the whole idea. Okay, this is the nice thing. So in the symmetric key crypto systems, you have a secret key, and this is used for both encryption and decryption. Sometimes you use the identical key for encryption or decryption. Sometimes you use in a reverse order. But important thing is that encryption and decryption algorithm are identical or closely related. Or if we want a more scientific term, we say that one can be obtained from the other in polynomial time. Okay. In public key cryptography, this won't be the case. Okay, because everybody will know the public key and they will be allowed to encrypt any message and send to you, but only you have the private key where you can decrypt it. Okay, that's completely a different scenario. So symmetric case, you have to securely share this key between parties before you want to communicate. Maybe meet in person, write it into a paper and give it to them and so on. But however you do it, we assume that both parties have the secret key. And also, this is the only thing that we keep secret, okay? We don't care if the algorithm is lost. I mean, if enemy knows this encryption and decryption algorithm, we don't care. Actually, this is Cashov principle saying that it should be freely left to the enemy, okay? We don't care. As long as your secret key is kept secure and secret, then enemy knowing everything about the algorithm shouldn't be a problem. And this is actually how modern cryptography works, because we have all of these algorithms, encryption and decryption algorithms, completely detailed in the standard. So you know how the algorithm works. It is not a secret, okay? So how the block ciphers work? Block ciphers operate on b-bit blocks of data. So it is fixed. Plain text is divided into b-bit blocks. Each block is encrypted by a secret key K to produce b-bit outputs. Output blocks form the ciphertext. So this is the whole idea. Instead of working with a variable length data, you divide it into b-bit blocks and then work on that. Thus, if you look at it in a mathematical way, a block cipher and the key you choose is actually a permutation from 2 to the b elements to the 2 to the b elements. Okay? Because your input is b-bit, and you are mapping it to another B bits. Okay, so you are actually, your input space is 2 to the B, output space is the same. You are mapping actual elements to each other. So this is just a permutation. Nowadays, we choose B as 64 or 128. Depends actually on the use case. Sometimes you can even choose as small as 32 in some lightweight ciphers. But if you choose the block size as small as that, recall our historical ciphers. We said that, replacing one character with one character didn't work due to frequency analysis, right? So if you are choosing your B as 32 bits, divided by 8, this means 4 bytes, right? You are replacing 4 bytes with 4 bytes. So as you can imagine, it is not that hard to attack that kind of thing. Also, you shouldn't be using that cipher for a very long time, because attacker may capture a lot of ciphertext and plain text, which actually covers the whole space. So block size should be large. 64 is acceptable, but generally we use 128 bits. So secret key size, today we use, for instance, advanced encryption standard allows 3 choices, 128. This is for personal use. So as a individual person, you shouldn't be accepting any algorithm that has security less than 128 bits, okay? But if you are military, you should be using 256 bits and shouldn't accept anything less than that. So you might ask, what is the point for 192? Nobody using it, okay? So either choose this or choose that, I mean, in libraries it is implemented, but nobody is using it, okay? Even in papers, when we obtain results for all 3 cases, we provide them in the paper for 128 and 256 and put 192 case in the appendix because of the page limits. Okay, so let's go back to our initial claim. I said that this is a mapping from 2 to the B elements to the 2 to the B elements. So this is just a permutation. So question is, how many permutations can you have? And this number is really huge. You can have 2 to the B factorial permutations, mapping 2 to the B elements to the 2 to the B elements. And this number is really, really huge. Just imagine B equals to 128, right? 2 to the power of 2 to the B is a huge number. So there are a huge number of permutations, but when you design a block cipher and when you choose a key, you are actually choosing a small set from this huge sets, okay? So a block cipher will provide only a tiny fraction of all these available permutations for typical values of B and K, namely 2 to the K. So 2 to the 128 is a very small number compared to 2 to the 2 to the 128, right? So there are a huge number of permutations, which looks like infinity, a huge space. So you are trying to design a cipher which actually chooses a good subset of it. For security, for any chosen key, we expect a good block cipher to act like as if it is a randomly selected permutation. So in cryptanalysis, this will make more sense. Even more, we expect no relation between permutations that are obtained by keys that are related somehow. We will return to this when we are talking about related key cryptanalysis, but here the idea is as follows. So you design a block cipher, you chose a key. So this key and the cipher actually maps 2 to the B elements to the 2 to the B elements, right? This is a permutation. If you make a small change to your secret key, maybe flipping the rightmost bit, let's say, then it will give you a completely different permutation. There shouldn't be a relation between these 2 cases, okay? That is the idea. And if there is such a relation, then we can perform a related key attack, which breaks the system, okay? So before moving on to examples and see what kind of ciphers we have today, we have to understand how we design them, or what makes a block cipher is a good cipher. So there are some abstract concepts, and there's not actually a mathematical way to actually show that this cipher is good or not. Currently, what we are doing is, when we design a cipher, we actually try to break it with every known cryptanalysis techniques and see if it is secure or not. Okay. You cannot prove that it is secure. Maybe 1 year later, somebody may come up with a new cryptanalysis technique and break the cipher. So let's look at these abstract concepts. Claude Shannon is considered as the father of information theory and contributed to the field of cryptanalysis for USA defense during World War II. His landmark paper, Communication Theory of Secrecy Systems, introduced the twin ideas of confusion and diffusion for practical cipher design. So we will be talking about S-boxes, permutations, and so on. All those come from these confusion and diffusion ideas, okay? Our aim is to provide confusion and diffusion. Confusion is defined by him as follows: to make the relation between the simple statistics of the ciphertext and the simple description of the key a very complex and involved one. And for the diffusion, the statistical structure of the plaintext which leads to its redundancy is dissipated into long-range statistics in the cryptogram. So note that these concepts of confusion and diffusion are not measurable concepts. They are absolute concepts, right? They are abstract. So Masse tried to give alternative definitions for that. So confusion, the ciphertext statistics should depend on the plaintext statistics in a manner too complicated to be exploited by the cryptanalyst. Diffusion, each digit of the plaintext and each digit of the secret key should influence many digits of the ciphertext. So these definitions are a lot better or easier to understand, let's say, because our aim is to, map B bits to B bits, right? So by confusion, we are trying to design it so that by looking at the ciphertext, for instance, last byte of the ciphertext, this shouldn't give you an idea about the last byte of the plaintext, right? You are causing a confusion. So you are actually making some modifications like substitutions. So this creates a confusion. But if you work on bytes, for instance, then you'll be working on individual bytes, right? Diffusion says that if you make a small change of one part of the cipher, like in 1 bit, it should affect as many bits as possible. So this is the whole idea. Actually, in terms of mathematics, when we assume that you have a plaintext and we encrypt it and obtain a ciphertext. So if you flip 1 bit of the plaintext, we actually expect half of the ciphertext bits to be changed. This is actually how we define it. Okay.